Hello there, this is Edgar Kingmaker. This is actually the first time I've ever done one of these videos, so, here goes. Um, as an artist, I've done a lot of sketches. And that's one thing that I try to keep consistent with over the years. Always try to keep sketching. And one thing that I really have trouble coming up with now and then is just what to sketch. So that's why at the beginning of the year, or thereabouts, I started the free sketches for furries. That's probably you guys. I don't know, there might be some non-furries among you, but hey, that's cool. You can get free sketches too. You just have to go on Fur Affinity to do it. You don't have to be a furry though. Just saying. Uh, anyway, last week was I did the theme of space because a few people mentioned space, a few people mentioned sci-fi. I figured why not? And the first two requests I didn't actually record, so you don't have those. No, instead you have the third request, which was this bunny boy in a cardboard box that's supposed to look like a rocket ship. So I just started playing around with it. But, you don't need me to tell you because you're watching it. See, so I can just start talking about other stuff. Like, I was watching YouTube videos earlier today and somebody was talking about what got them into anime. And anime is actually a very large part of what got me into art in the first place. And my start in anime was actually with my parents. They really enjoyed anime, and so they recorded the sci-fi. Oh, what's it called? It was on the Sci-Fi Channel. Back when it was really good. It was called Robot Carnival, something like that. And they had Vampire Hunter D and let's see, was it Firebird and Lensman? Oh, the Lensman. I remember the Lensman. That was really good. But the big anime that really got me into things was The Guyver. And, I might be dating myself by mentioning it, but that series really got me into gory monster anime and imagery. And I just, I love gore. I love blood and guts and monsters, especially monsters. In fact, I love them so much that I drawing monsters as a kid throughout elementary school. The teachers thought something was wrong with me, but there's nothing wrong with me. Of course there is. What are we talking about? No, we were talking about anime. Guyver got me into anime. And then anime got me into drawing. And then drawing and anime got me into monsters. And then monsters got me into tabletop role playing because I got to be the game master. I got to throw monsters at all the players, which yeah, that's about right. You know, I still to this day do a lot of tabletop role playing. And my favorite role is the game master because I like showing people that monsters are actually monstrous. See, there's a lot of contention in my mind. Like a lot of tabletop role playing games will give you these low level monsters, but in my mind, if they're monsters and they're terrorizing people and they're, you know, eating farmers out in the fields, they're not they're not low level. They can't be low level because a couple of farmers would be able to beat away any creatures that are low level that are coming off to, steal babies. Because, I mean, farmers are tough guys. You gotta figure. These guys, they don't just yeah, they shovel stalls and they dig ditches and trenches and they do all sorts of hard labor. And if there were creatures that were threatening their farm, do you think that they would be so weak as to just roll over and be like, "Oh, adventurers, help us"? No, they'd probably, you know, beat up the monsters if they were so low level and so easy to defeat as what you know D&D tells us about like goblins. Then again, I have a lot of issues with D&D as it just so happens. Like kobolds in D&D, they first off they're not kobolds. Second off, they're supposed to be descendants of dragons, right? But they get like a -4 strength and a -2 constitution. I only know this because one of my characters had been reincarnated as a kobold once, and it's not exactly what I expected of descendants of dragons. Um, but as a species, they're, statistically in D&D, they're portrayed as crappy monsters that serve dragons. Right, but honestly, they'd be pretty freaking useless to dragons. In fact, if they were to serve anything, they'd probably be more prone to screwing up than anything else. At which point, they don't really make sense for monsters or servants of evil. In fact, they're more like comic relief for a cartoon. So, like I said, I have a bunch of issues with D&D though. Um, which is probably why I have, through the years, created my own tabletop role playing system and produced a book, you know, and it is mostly furry. I mean, let's be honest, most of the species that are prominent in it are animal based, but I usually base them more on what the animals would have been like if they were the ones to reach the pinnacle of evolution. Because, humans, apes, we are animals. We're all animals. Let's just go with that. Because, I mean, well, alright, I don't want to crush anybody's poor beliefs, but really, with more than 90% of the scientific community saying, hey, evolution happened, who are we to really disagree? In fact, I follow a lot of information on a lot of animal characteristics, which is actually how I came up with some of my characters. Like one of my favorites, which you can easily find in my gallery on Fur Affinity, Kodan Juka. He is a Komodo dragon, and all of his traits actually follow the Komodo dragon. Like a lot of people, they'll make a Komodo dragon and they'll put like spikes or spines on the head or some other weird shit that just doesn't belong with the species. I mean, yes, it's fantasy, but you are claiming yourself that species. Why would you deter to something else? If you're going to deter to something else, you are a fantasy creature. Just stick with that. Don't say, oh yeah, I'm a Komodo dragon, but I got all these spikes and stuff that make me look more like some kind of monster out of concept artist's book for a video game role playing system. Nah, just oh, anyway, I see that the picture is getting close to finished. The guy gave me half an idea, and I ran with the rest of it. And I'm actually pretty happy with how this one came out. And I purposefully misspelled and rearranged some of the letters and give him a calendar, the metal strainy thing on his head. Give him a spoon and a spatula. I did forget to make them shiny like metal, but you can't win them all, right? It's a sketch. See, I remind myself when I realize I've made mistakes on these things that they are sketches, period. Which is, they're free. You guys get them for free. So they're sketches. This is my daily practice in a way. I mean, sure, when I'm going other places, I'll bring a sketchbook with me, but I haven't been as regular with the sketchbook as I would like. This one. This is actually, I can't remember his name, but he asked for his character wearing an outfit with the Death Star in the background. He asked for wearing the Star Trek uniform with the Star Wars Rebels helmet, Death Star in the background, but he didn't give me a situation, which normally I don't give numbers to that, but I didn't actually realize it or notice it until I had already told him he won. So I just made up some kind of embarrassing pose, like dancing and showing us his booty, and sort of standing on a Warhammer 40k freighter, Imperial freighter. Also, I had some lag issues with this one, so excuse this image. This image's choppiness. I didn't realize that listening to some music on the same computer that's recording this might have slowed it down. Oh, let's see, what else was that? Oh, yes. Um, if you have any questions for things that you want me to talk about, to rant about, during any future videos, if I decide to continue this thing, which, entirely depends on you guys, go ahead and post your questions, comments, or questions in the comments section. Subjects, there we go. Subjects in the comments section. And I'll go ahead and I'll ramble on about them as a narrative over these. Because hopefully, if I continue my sketches this time, I'll be able to just keep this up. If you guys enjoy it, as I said. So, I was watching Nikita on Netflix the other day, and it's for anybody who doesn't know Nikita the series, it is basically a series about an action drama series about a government spy defect, and the entire thing is basically her plot for revenge. So it's mostly self-motivation for her, but the thing that started annoying me sometimes was the action scenes. How four guys will bust in with machine guns at, not even 15 feet away on full auto, completely miss the main characters, who, by the way, have pistols, are out in the open, and are somehow able to turn, fire, and hit with the first shot and dodge away completely unscathed. Oh my gosh, the biggest, well, probably not the biggest and worst case of this, but Resident Evil. I hate those movies. I know some of you are probably going to complain about that, but seriously, I can't stand it when things get wildly, outlandishly unrealistic. Like, to the point where it totally breaks my suspension of disbelief. Yeah, that's the term. Very important term, too. A lot of companies seem to completely forget that they're supposed to keep our belief suspended, or our disbelief suspended, by giving us believable scenarios that we are able to mentally cope with in a way. But one of the Resident Evils, I remember this girl is walking through with some kind of, I think it was machine guns. It was either that or pistols. She probably had pistols, but she was standing up, easily able to get hit by anything, and there were like four guys shooting SMGs at her and nothing, no hits. Oh, and I finally, most of you are probably gonna hate me for this because the picture actually reminded me, because right now I'm drawing the frowny face on the Death Star. I finally watched Rogue One, and I know, like, I'm not gonna bust on the fact that none of the main characters get hit by the guns often enough, because there's some kind of explanation to the Force. But what is the point of the Stormtrooper body armor? Because it doesn't stop blaster fire at all. At all. Like, you can hit them anywhere, and it'll, like, it, even in the medieval Europe, or actually post-Renaissance period, I guess, they stopped wearing metal armor because guns came into play that could easily penetrate the metal armor. Therefore, why are stormtroopers wearing their Imperial armor? I mean, if it's a means of distinguishing whose side they're on, they could easily be wearing jumpsuits or something lighter. But instead, they're wearing these clunky looking things that must be made out of soft plastic, because Donnie Yen, who is one of my favorite martial arts actors, uh, he stomped on a stormtrooper's foot. And I know these days, guys with steel-toed boots generally wouldn't be able to be stomped through, even by a martial artist. I know, but realistically, okay, I know that it was a fantasy movie, it's science fiction, but it's still, what's the point of the armor at that point, right? It would make more sense for them to be wearing something lighter, like what the rebels were wearing, because the rebels, they were smart enough to know, oh yeah, if we wear this light plastic, we're just gonna die at the first blaster fire, so we may as well wear something light that we can just walk through the place in. That makes sense. Ah, but um, yeah, there are so many movies that they'll have this ridiculous situation where guys who are supposedly superiorly trained, is that a word? Their training is superior to the characters or on an equal basis, and yet, and they have automatic weapons, and yet they can't hit worth dick. And these other characters, the main characters generally, because that's obviously how it has to go, or else there's no story, right? If they get shot, I don't think they get shot enough. I think that's the problem. Like, you could add a lot more tension with people taking the bullet wounds because it feels more realistic. But yeah, these people on equal ground, just, they don't hit dick. This person hits in the first shot. What is going on? Because I don't know. I don't know if you know this, but shooting at somebody with a pistol at 15 feet is not that hard. And shooting at somebody with an automatic weapon at 15 feet they're gonna die, basically. Like, it is almost impossible to miss 15 shots in a row at that short of a range, unless you're blind, drunk, and just swinging your arms around. And then you're not actually aiming at them, so, not aiming at them is sort of the factor here. If you're aiming at them, you have a gun that goes brrr and hits friggin' everything, then you're gonna hit something. Now, I just I think media gets lazy sometimes with that. Oh, speaking of things that I finally started watching Game of Thrones. I can't stand it. I stopped watching after like the second or third episode, in fact. But my girlfriend, she still watches, which is perfectly okay with me. Uh, I some of the explanations in it, a lot of the history information, it doesn't make any sense. There's a lot of it that's just not okay to me, so I can't watch it. Especially when I think this was the second episode. Uh, this guy was training somebody how to fight, and he said the sword is made for piercing armor. That is just straight up bullshit. The sword is actually made to give you a wider striking area. It was made for people who really didn't have high quality armor. Um, the weapons that are made for piercing armor, the crossbow, things that do a large impact on a small strike zone, like the pointy end of an actual warhammer, not a fantasy warhammer. I know a lot of people, when they hear warhammer, they think of this giant piece of metal on the end of a stick. No, it's actually a smaller piece of metal that has a pointy end and a smashing end, and that was specifically made, in fact, to combat armor, and it's the pointy end that pierces the armor, whereas the larger zone actually dents armor more than actually pierces it. But swords, their strike zone is so wide that the distribution of force is um, it's too much to really get through plate armor, especially plate armor. Even armors like Gambeson or Chain were able to defend against swords definitely a lot better than cloth or flesh. I mean, that'd just be silly. Um, but like most normal swords, you thrust at armor and plate, or you thrust at plate armor. I'm talking about plate armor. You thrust at plate armor, and it's gonna be deflected, and it's just how it is. And it doesn't even matter on the toughness of the material. Well, the weapons material, surely. It matters more the toughness and the shape of the armor. Although even if an armor was entirely made of, let's say, bronze, which is a little bit softer, it bends, it doesn't flex. So I mean, it it would deflect a blow or two, but it wouldn't hold up to long combat. But that's probably why they didn't make plate armor in the Bronze era. Uh, Again, we don't really have information on the fighting styles from the Bronze era. Well, we have some like Roman era fighting combat. Yeah, we have some Roman era combat manuals, but like Egyptian period, things like that. That's what I'm talking about. We don't really have much to salvage from that. Anyway, I'm going to talk about this piece that I'm drawing for a little bit because I really didn't tell you what I'm doing here at all. This request was actually this frog character pointing a a body mod, they said, but the arm aperture there at an intruder on a space station. And the first thing that I thought when I thought space station and guards was actually Star Ocean. So I kind of remembered like this hallway scene. It was so long ago since I played Star Ocean, but I remembered like this hallway scene. So I did like a hallway with little bubble dome windows. And I kind of also remembered Van Dread, which had like the bubble windows and the hallways and that sort of thing. So it's like I just sort of I make this stuff up as I go along. I only use references that are provided to me by the people requesting the sketches. So all this is really just me making stuff up as I go along. But I thought, yeah, wouldn't it be neat if she was hanging from the ceiling and pointing the gun at the guy? And it's not quite as dramatic as I meant it to be. I'm gonna be honest. This one and the next one just do not have the impact that I was really going for. And impact is really something that is important to me, but also something that I've been working on. As you might be able to see with some of my works where I have people getting punched. I like having people get punched. It's a lot of fun. Um, Action usually is. Oh, I was talking about swords. Nah, I'm not gonna go back to swords because the next subject would be katanas, and I don't want to start pissing people off too much. Because I'd like you guys to come back actually, and you know, join my free raffles if you want sketches like this, or if you want to see your sketch get drawn in a video on YouTube and hear me rant about other stuff in the meanwhile. I am currently drinking peach tea mixed with peach juice. Well, it's peach and black tea. Like I brew it all up in iced tea maker, and I sort of mix 60% peach, 40% black. It's because I want caffeine. I like caffeine, but I also like flavor. So I gotta have that peach. And I really like the peach. It's good. I like teas. I like Coke. I like Gatorade. That's kind of like my drinks of choice. Sometimes I will drink rum, but not very often. I'm not actually a very big fan of alcohol. In fact, I never really use uh, state-altering substances. That's right. I actually stay away from them generally, and it's it's not because of legality. It's actually just because I like to keep my mind my own. Oh, look, the picture's done. um, and I just like to keep a clear head about things. Sometimes I'll have sleeping pills. Sometimes I'll have pain medicine. Sometimes I'll take Excedrin, ibuprofen, that sort of thing. But nothing else, really. And I don't care if other people do. I'm not one of those people. Drugs are bad. No, it's not for me. And that's how I like it. So, you may have noticed, if you've actually been watching me sketch, that I go through two different layers of sketching. Basically, I go through the planning sketch, which is a quick and dirty mess that's really just me going for basic shapes and making sure that I get everything placed correctly. And then on the next layer, I actually go for a more refined form. But since these are only partially refined, they're not perfect. I'm not looking for perfection. It's a partially refined sketch because I like coloring. I like to have good lines to color in. So I need those. So I need to have a partially refined sketch. And I think that a lot of people appreciate the color a lot more than they'd appreciate just the black and white. But I have seen a lot of pretty good monochrome artist images, sketches that I really do enjoy compared to some color pieces. So, what are your thoughts on color versus monochrome? Hmm? I mean, yes, it is nice to have anything, really. One of the reasons that I actually do the free sketches, aside from the fact that it's really nice to have practice every day and have a new thing come at me all the time, another reason is I actually do feel that everybody should have the chance to have their character drawn, which is why I believe that, I want everyone to come and join my sketches. See, I believe that people that normally don't get pictures should get pictures. The which is why I will accept um, as a text references. I actually do accept that. I've only had one or two people enter that way because there are a lot of free bases and free references. But as you've seen from some of the strange characters that I can come up with, uh, your characters can't always be explained with a free free reference sheet, especially since most of the free reference sheets it's one body type, and there are all sorts of different people with all sorts of different body types from, all sorts of different walks of life. So it's it's crazy to me for people to get stuck into specific molds of reference sheets. When I used to be a almost uh, almost entirely pony, My Little Pony, friendship is magic. Yay! When I used to be a specifically brony artist, um, I would see the same reference sheet all the time. And I know why. It was free and people could easily do that, but there were only so many hairstyles. There were only so many, mane and tail and body shapes. I mean, sure, they could stretch them on that one, but it was like I was seeing the same hairstyles over and over and over again. Rainbow Dash's mane was almost always uh, somewhere in the requests, and I get it. It's an easy tomboyish hairstyle, but not every pony should have it. You know what I mean? So, free bases are great, but I feel that there are a lot of ways that bases just can't convey what your character needs to be. Oh, in this, I I, I made the face a little more uh, chubby and or to accent the surprise, and I kept messing with her eyes until it actually looked like shock that she was basically caught. Um, because the requester couldn't really make up his mind between safe for work or not safe for work, so I made it something a little bit in between, towing the line almost, but it's like suggestive, but you're not seeing anything. So really anybody can see it or see the picture. Oh, I love the references that he sent me though, because when I saw the cockpit, I was like, "Oh my gosh, Gundam!" Because I watched a lot of giant robot animes when I was young. Giant robots, yay! I used to play a lot of Mech Warrior too. I'd make my own custom mechs and uh, roam the field with them. I used to have a custom mech editor, which actually let you build your own weapons, because there were apparently rules for building your own weapons. And I had like a really big mech that had death rays on it. They cost so much energy, but did a whole bunch of damage if they hit. That system was a bit clunky, but nice in its own way. I mean, it was great to have giant robots, but my universal role playing system also has rules for giant robots, so I haven't really had to play any other game to get my giant robot fix for a while. Then again, not many people play the giant robot scenarios, so it doesn't happen very often anyway, but I am not as big of a need a giant robot fix person as I used to be, I guess. I just like giant things that explode. But, uh, like, but I don't like some of the movies that portray giant robots, and that's mostly the director's fault. But I I've talked about movies enough today, I think. Don't you think? I think so. I was talking about something before I started talking about chubby cheeks. Because her cheeks are accentually chubby. They're not, the character's cheeks were not actually that puffed out, but in anime rules, when you get surprised or something embarrassing happens, your cheeks go, and so it had to happen. In fact, anime, like I said, was one of my main building blocks for my style. So, of course, I know most of the anime style rules. In fact, most of the books that I have are on how to draw manga style stuff. So, yeah, I'm a furry artist, but most of my art books are on drawing manga. Oh, and I think I actually built her body incorrectly proportioned. Her shoulders are a bit too wide, and the hips too narrow. But it's a sketch. See, if I was paid to refine this, I would make sure all the proportions were corrected. It's like when I'm watching myself draw it, I can actually see the issues that the problems, the mistakes that I made. And I can tell. So if I do get paid to refine a sketch, I'll go back over them again and I'll make sure that everything gets fixed. Which I did get paid to refine 2 sketches. There were 2 upgrades that happened ever. And, upgrading your sketch, it's like, I'm going to have them pay like $12, something like that. I try to stay economical because I want to be affordable to as many people as possible. I don't want to be that artist that you have to spend a year saving up for to buy a piece from, but I'm not incredibly fast when it comes to commissions, I'll admit. I used to be, um, and that was also when I was doing the daily sketch things. I think I might be getting fast again soon, but we'll just have to see where that goes because I have a little bit of a queue forming now. I have some bookmarks I gotta make. I'm almost done with your character here that I did a while back with the bondage. Yay, Roroni's gonna be happy. Um, and then if I'm actually able to finish that, the bookmarks, what's the other one? Oh, the winner from the Mega Raffle. Then I can get back to work on the comics. One of them is featuring Jaker's character, who has been so good and so patient. What is it? She's a ringtail. That's what she is. A lemur? A lemur? Something like that. But it's featuring her and my Komodo dragon, Kodan Juka, and it is not kid friendly. The comic, it's definitely adult only. So it's Kodan Juka is a giant Komodo dragon. What do you think he does? I mean, he is 20 feet long and 12 feet tall when he stands upright. What do you think he eats for breakfast? It's furries. He's furries. But the comic is Jaker's character and Kodan Juka. And the other one that I'm working on is with ponies. And that one is with my old Pony Sona 8-star and Violet's character. And that is also an adult comic. Because one thing, I used to be very, almost exclusively adult. It's true. I can't deny it because it's the truth. In fact, if I were to try to deny it, people might slap me and say, "No, you can do this." But what I've always really wanted to do is work on my own comic. I have like this villain comic idea, a super villain comic, basically. Instead of based around the superheroes, it's more based around the supervillains and kind of follows them through different situations. And that's like the main premise of the story itself. Mostly because I, uh, throughout my life, have been more interested in the bad guys than the good guys. And I don't know how healthy that was for my psyche as a kid, but that's just how it was. I mean, my idol growing up was Alice Cooper. My favorite character out of all the Disney films was Jafar. He's a bad guy. Yes, I know. That's the great thing about him. My favorite bad guy and favorite character overall, really. But anyway, about this comic. Basically, it would follow the villains, which the main super villain is actually a angsty 20-some-year-old who is just getting into the world. Like, he's been locked up as an experiment for a really long time, and he's finally free, and he has to, in a way, discover himself while also trying to further the devices of the evil lord who he's working for, or he ends up working for, who isn't the main character. Because, I mean, you can't have the main bad guy be the main character. I always thought it would be interesting if the superhero stories were actually the main character was not the main superhero, but in fact like the sidekick or something, because that would allow the story for more almost everyday drama. It would have more intrigue instead of, oh, we go punch this thing now we go punch this thing. I know that punching things is great, but we need a little more than just punching things. Flux capacitor. Just look at it on your screen. Anyway, uh, so punching things is great, and there's plenty of punching things that are planned in the comic. In fact, I've done like a rough sketch of the first issue, but it needs a lot of refinement, a lot of planning. I need to work out the characters. In my gallery, now and then you see the elementals, which is frost, flame, storm, stone. And those ladies are fine, but they are not the main characters. But you do get to see a lot of them for a while. But they are the starting superhero group. Superheroines, really. Although, superheroine, it's like a powerful drug. They are superheroes. Let's just say that. They also used to be scientists. Fantastic Four drop. Well, the video is coming to an end here soon. So, I thank you all for watching if you've made it this far. And if you have made it this far, then let me just ask you one thing. What got you into art? What made you want to make your character or your persona? Alright, let me know in the comments below, and I hope to see you another time.